This is a presentation on the steamship Kirkpool. It was in the Tyne in 1942, January. It berthed at Dunstan on the stairs, where it was loaded with coal. It then travelled down the Tyne towards North Shields. Leaving North Shields, it headed out into the North Sea. Its destination was Oban in Scotland. It travelled round the top of Scotland and reached Oban. Here it joined up with convoy ONS 61, who was destined for Halifax, Nova Scotia. The convoy headed out into the Atlantic, and when it reached the Azores, the Kirkpool left the convoy and headed south. Its destination was Mozambique in Africa, via Cape Town. When it reached Cape Town, it received new orders. It was to proceed to Durban to collect coal. Arriving at Durban, the Kirkpool took on coal. Its new destination was Montevideo in South America. Heading past Cape Town, she went west into the South Atlantic, but just off the coast of Tristan da Cunha, around 200 hours, the Kirkpool was hit by the first of a 1,550 centimetre shell from the surface radar Thor. It was followed by more shells, and eventually the Kirkpool began to sink. Captain Kennington ordered to stop engines and abandon ship. They were unable to launch the life rafts as they were stuck on the davits, but a raft was launched and some of the men were hanging on to that. Other men managed to lash together another raft, and this was washed overboard with men still hanging on it. The Thor moved closer to the men in the rafts and threw netting over the side for the men to climb up. Of the 46 men is the crew of the Kirkpool, 16 were killed. This is the greatest loss of life of any ship that was captured or sunk by the Thor. On the 21st of April, Thor passed south of the Cape of Good Hope and into the Indian Ocean. In less than a month in the South Atlantic, the Thor had sunk a total of 5 Allied ships and a total of 23,626 tons. In the Indian Ocean, the Thor rendezvoused with the supply ship Regensburg, and all of the captured crew were transferred onto this ship. Then Thor sailed away. The Regensburg once again rendezvoused with the Thor. This time the ship was accompanied by another ship, the Nanking, which the Thor had captured intact. Again, the crew and the passengers were transferred to the Rosenberg, and then Thor departed with the Nanking to the northwest. The Rosenberg ship sailed southwest, and on the 31st of May it rendezvoused with another German ship, the Dresden, and all the crew and passengers were transferred over onto this ship. The Dresden sailed through the Sunda Strait, then to the east of Borneo into the Sea of Celebes. Then it reached its final destination, Yokohama. Here they were transferred to another ship, the Ramesses. Here they were informed that they were to be transferred to the Japanese authorities. They were herded onto the quayside and put under the control of 15 Japanese policemen who had travelled down from Fukushima. The 137 men, welcome women and children, were put on buses to take them to Yokohama railway station. A short train journey took them to Tokyo Central Station, where they were then to change trains. They were put on a train to Fukushima, which is the north of Tokyo. The Japanese were faced with a dilemma with what to do with the Norwegian internees, as both Japan and Germany were not longer at war with Norway, so it was decided to ship them back to Europe. One of the ships with the Norwegians on was called the Ramesses. The Ramesses was intercepted in the Indian Ocean by Allied ships. The German crew decided to scuttle the ship, and the crew and the Norwegians were taken on board the Allied vessels. When the Norwegians were debriefed, they revealed that there was more Allied internees in Japan, and this information was then passed to Britain and Australia, and eventually their relatives were informed that they had actually survived. This is a picture sent to me by Christine. Her father, Malcolm Ingleby Scott, is on the back row left hand side, and Cuthbert Skipsey Robson is in the middle. This is another picture of Cuthbert Skipsey Robson. He is the man holding the child. The evacuation from the convent began. Buses took them to the station, and this took them through the city of Sendai. Eventually they reached the harbour at Shingogama, where they boarded HMS Ruler. They were then transferred to the Australian ship Warramunga. This sailed down to Yokohama and the Tokyo Bay. Here they were transferred to the US Monitor, where they spent the night. Next day they embarked on HMS Ruler to Sydney. After a few days in Sydney, they embarked upon the ship Andes and sailed to Southampton, where they went home to their families.